Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt, and welcome back to Farlands or Bust. Sorry there, I realized that my external speakers were still on as I started recording, so Wolfie's bark may have been in 3D surround sound. Well, not really, might have just been a little bit of an echo from the feedback in the microphone, but that has been resolved. There's a skeleton dancing over there, and we are continuing to walk to the far lands in Minecraft Beta 1.7.3 in episode... Wolfie, he's pushing me. In episode... Oh gosh, okay. Hi, how are you? Oh, okay. You guys are terrible shots. Oh, yep, go get the skeleton residue, Wolfie, go get it. Yeah, episode 409. Did I say that already? It's episode 409 of Farlands or Bust. Today is Wednesday, September 24th, 2014, and I am in a bit of a situation here. Let's get over the hill and across the woods to grandmother's house we go. Grandmother, she lives at the Farlands. But we're continuing on here. Ooh, look at this nifty. It's a chicane. It's like a racetrack. There's a chicane coming through here. And yeah, we're continuing to raise money for Child's Play charity. Also, over at farlandsorbust.com. You can donate directly to help get toys, books, games to kids in hospitals around the world. Whoa. Okay, turned around. And we've been supporting them for over 3 years here with Farlands or Bust. This season, Season 5 of Farlands or Bust, we have raised, as of today, $12,605. That's going to get a lot of awesome toys, books, and games, as I've said, to children in hospitals around the world. Learn more about Child's Play Charity specifically at childsplaycharity.org or, like I said, farlandsorbust.com to donate. Indeed. Had a lot of space news happenstances happening in the world this week. In the last episode I mentioned Maven, the NASA spacecraft that is going to be studying the upper atmosphere of Mars, was inserted into orbit successfully. Spelunk. Oh god, you hit the one piece of land that you could have hit. Well done, Wolfie. Good gravy. But yeah, as I was saying, you noodle. As I was saying, the Maven spacecraft entered into Mars orbit. Nary days later, India entered its first spacecraft into Mars orbit as well. The Indian Space Agency sent Mars Orbiter Mission, or MOM, M-O-M, to Mars. This is the first spacecraft by the India Space Agency. I'm not sure what specifically they're called, like their space agency name is, but the first spacecraft to enter Mars orbit, and this is an all-Indian-made spacecraft. A lot of times when a country, even the United States or Russia or a European Space Agency, has a space mission, they tend to get different science equipment or parts or thrusters or stuff from different nations. This one is all built in India, so they're very proud of that. And like I said, the first time entering orbit around Mars, this brings the grand total of nations or organizations or agencies that have successfully sent a spacecraft to Mars up to 4. That, of course, follows the United States, Russia, and the ESA, the European Space Agency, and brings the grand total of active robotic missions at Mars to 6. We have the 2 rovers, Opportunity and Curiosity, roving around. We have Maven, as I said, and of course this new Indian Space Agency, and then we have the 2, we have the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, and there's another NASA, I think NASA one. It's more used as a data relay from the rovers from the surface to Earth. I forgot what it was called, but 6. There's 6 spacecraft studying, orbiting, and or roving at Mars right now. We live in the future. But yeah, that's kind of cool. That's quite cool, and I've always said that it's when we talk about the exploration of the solar system and science and going to Mars, it really has to be a cooperative effort. It's not just going to be one nation or even one private company or anything that's going to be able to do it. It's going to have to be a conglomerate. So this is all kind of, I feel, to me anyway, ramping up, showing global interest in space exploration. The spacecraft, the mom, the spacecraft from India is kind of a little bit more of a, I don't want to call it rudimentary, but a very more of an all around, more of a they call it a technology demonstration. So it's got a camera, it's got a methane detector, you know, your basic science. Nothing specific like MAVEN exists solely to study the upper atmosphere of Mars. I don't even know that it has a camera, to be honest with you, for MAVEN. So yeah, but it's still a step in the right direction for the Earth-led, the human exploration of Mars, and not just NASA or this country or that organization or whatever. It's a concerted effort, so hopefully that continues and continues beyond Mars, even though Mars is quite the popular marketable target as far as planetary exploration is concerned. As far as manned spaceflight, we've got a launch alert. I believe I could have the time wrong or the time could change, but Thursday, September 25th at 4:24 p.m. Eastern Time, Expedition 41 crew, the three crewed, well, 2 cosmonauts and an astronaut from NASA, going to launch on a Soyuz spacecraft, because there's now only currently 3 people aboard the International Space Station. This is the Expedition 41-42 crew that's going on board to join them. Going to be launching tomorrow, and the big news about that is it includes the first Russian woman cosmonaut in 20 years. The first Russian cosmonaut woman to board the International Space Station. But that is an interesting but kind of unfortunate statistic that Russia hasn't sent a woman to space in over 20 years, which is surprising because they were the first to send a woman to space with, what was her name? Valentina something? I forgot. But yeah, it was the first female and like really the very, very early on. You know, that was before we landed on the moon and stuff like that. They sent her into space, as opposed to on the American side, it took us until the space shuttle with Sally Ride to get a female astronaut into space. But that is kind of the news surrounding that mission. So launch a man, you know, all these launch alerts I've had recently are all kind of unmanned, important and interesting to watch, but the stakes are a bit higher, and the tension and the drama definitely a bit higher when you have human beings on board. And if you haven't ever watched a Soyuz launch, be sure to check out this launch due tomorrow. Like I said, 4:24 p.m. Eastern Time. Maybe you'll be able to tune in from work if you're still at work. Just pull up the NASA TV feed and watch that. Not as many external cameras for a Soyuz launch, unfortunately, not like even SpaceX. SpaceX now has cameras on the inside of their fuel tanks, so sometimes during their feed you'll see a bunch of liquid sloshing around. That's actually the inside of the fuel tank, which is pretty crazy to see. But the Soyuz, for Russian reasons, I suppose I could say, don't really have that many cameras on board, so you get a good shot from the ground of the launch, but then the only onboard camera of the launch they actually show is actually in the capsule, which is interesting to see the people. You can see when different events happen. MECO, when the launch shroud separates, you can see the light change, and when MECO, main engine cutoff, happens, BAM! The astronauts and cosmonauts are thrust forward, and you know, all the items suddenly become weightless, and that's pretty interesting. So check that out. Well, maybe we'll see if I'm able to watch that. I might have something going on at that time, but Indeed. Look forward to that. Look forward to that indeed. And look forward to the first day ending here on today's episode. And we will construct the elevated hidey hole and sleep. And then we'll get to... Whoops. We'll get to some questions here from fans, from donors to Child's Play charity, from patrons. Some leftover ones from last week when I took questions from patrons. And we will continue in the morning. And awakeness. Awakeness. Awakeness indeed. Ooh, it's a nice waterfall-y area here. Waterfall-y? That is being supported by that single tube of dirt. It makes total sense, physically. Wow, yeah, look at all these waterfalls. Waterfall City. Kinda neat. Kinda neat indeed. Neat enough for a picture. But, oh, I meant to try to get Wolfie in there, but he's running all around like a jerk-faced. Oh, wrong button. Oh, there we go. Although I really don't see any of the waterfalls. Ah, whatever. Good enough. Wolfie, where you at? Oh, hi, you're in my face. That's where you're at. You are existing within my face place. Oh, alright, this one kind of goes on and on and on. Woof. Oh, and then it ends right there. Spooky noises. So let's answer some questions here. Let's look at a question. This one is going to be actually quite apt in that Ewan from Patreon, well, he doesn't work at Patreon, but he's a patron at my Patreon, asks why... Oh, did I already answer this? I feel like I might have already answered this. Why the Xbox One? I mentioned that I got the Xbox One and not the PS4, or are you planning on getting that eventually as well? Well, I wasn't planning on getting the Xbox One. I know even in an episode of Far Lands of Bust, I kind of poked a jab at the promotion that Microsoft had to get an Xbox, get a free game, and it was really a ploy to sell the Xbox and Destiny, the game Destiny, because you could get the free brand new game Destiny on that release week with that promotion. I kind of even made fun of that, and but I succumbed. I succumbed to the promotional materials, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have to get a whatchamacallit, a console eventually, a next-gen console. I want to play Forza. The next Forza Horizon game comes out at the end of the month. This deal was going on, and then also through the Microsoft Store, you get $50 addition on top of the free game, and I'm like, well, I could use that $50 to get Forza Horizon then. So almost 2 free games, it seems. So I'm like, you know what, I'll just bite the bullet and get it and just kind of get the console gaming rolling on the channel. Why not the PlayStation? I know originally I said the PlayStation, and surely I will eventually get a PlayStation, but definitely not before I actually want to set up and start recording my PlayStation 2 gameplay, which I already have the PlayStation 2. I already have a bunch of games. I want to play the original Tomb Raider. It's something I've been wanting and trying to do, and even fan has given me on multiple occasions the PC copy of the original Tomb Raider trilogy. Ooh, we missed that. And I just simply, it's very difficult because it runs on DOSBox, and the recording, I'm sure there's ways, but you know me and my lack of patience for fiddling with the back ends and getting games to work that I just want them to work, and I do feel like but the experience on the PlayStation console will be far more nostalgic and far more specific to my history with those games. But regardless, yeah, I feel like eventually maybe the PlayStation 4. I don't even like I said with the Xbox. If I wasn't doing Let's Play games and I wasn't doing this for my channel, I personally still don't. I wouldn't even recommend the current generation of consoles to people for purchase just because there isn't enough going for them. You know, you can say, oh, well, then you could also watch Netflix and this, that, and that. I'm like, well, you can get a $60 Roku box or the Chrome TV thing, or you can just plug in an old computer to your TV and watch all your streaming media through that. You don't need a $400 console for that. And there just simply aren't enough games. Like, I don't think there are. I'm not interested in Destiny. Let's get that out of the way. I'm not interested in other sports games, your Maddens, your FIFAs, and things like that. There really aren't any other games that exist on the platforms yet that appeal to me, and it really it was kind of an impulse purchase. I'm like, okay, I can justify this for my job, for getting these milestones rolling with the Patreon thing, and it was kind of an impulse purchase, but I think it'll work. It'll work in the end, and hopefully we'll get some fun videos and content up. And I say it was timely because I've already given my patrons a little sneak peek, but maybe you should stick around tomorrow. Stick around after the Soyuz launch. Around that time, give an hour or so on my channel, and maybe we'll have the first console gameplay video ever on my channel to be uploaded to YouTube on my channel. It's a momentous occasion. Come one, come all, enjoy the console spectacle. The spectacle. I mentioned, I'll just talk about this a little bit more, but I mentioned in a video I recorded today that'll be due out in a couple days that the one thing, you know, I can't remember if I've ever been adamantly against console gaming before or not. I know I said on a few occasions that my channel is a PC gaming channel, so don't expect console gaming. I suppose, you know, I should never say never, and obviously that has changed. But the one thing I find not preferable, but definitely it is a load off my shoulders to know that I'm playing a game at 100% of its graphical capabilities on that platform, like Forza, obviously. Obviously, also some games are dumbed down for the console as compared to their PC counterparts, but for a game like Forza that is only available on the Xbox console, it's kind of reassuring to know that I'm getting the most performance and quality and visuals out of it that I possibly can, as opposed to PC gaming. I can spend hours, and I have spent hours. I wanted to play Assetto Corsa again, but I'm having problems with the performance and of like the frames, and I really don't want to degrade the quality of the visuals anymore, especially as a YouTuber. I kind of want to give the game its best, you know, it's a visual medium. I want to show the game in the best light, that is to say, with as full of graphics as I possibly can. And my computer, my PC, being 3, going on 4, oh my god, going on 4 years old, is it? Or is it going on 3? It's getting up there as far as staying current with the gaming hardware. It can't run games like Assetto Corsa, games even like Grid Autosport, or some, I'm sure the more modern first-person shooters or other games that are coming out. I have to reduce, you know, even next car game, I have to reduce the graphical options, and with the Assetto Corsa, like I said, trying to get that to work at a right frame rate, so many hours lost testing this out, doing a benchmark, trying recording, testing this out, taking this setting off, okay, a little bit more anti-aliasing, a little bit less. I'm very OCD, and I like having that control as part of PC gaming, and, you know, I'm very anal retentive, I suppose I can go as far to say that it's really nice to be able to dial something in to say, prefer frames over quality or vice versa, and that part of PC gaming is definitely a major advantage as far as keeping current with that, but that also causes a lot of stress. A lot of like, oh, I wish I had a better graphics card, or oh, I wish I could build a new computer right away, or oh, this, that, or the other. But that you know, that is that weight that is lifted off your shoulders when you're console gaming. Just plug it in. Okay, we're playing the game. This is how it is, for better or for worse. This is how it is, and you can just kind of concentrate on the game itself. So that part of it, I suppose I can concede to a slight positive on the console gaming side of things, which is why it's partly, I suppose, why there is a little bit of a misnomer that the PC gamers are a little bit more hardcore because they have to take all these extra measures to make sure that to get to know their hardware and the software and blah 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 and all these settings, as opposed to someone who maybe has never PC gamed before and is strictly console gaming. Whether or not that's true or that makes sense or whatever is up for debate, I suppose. A debate that I will not get involved in. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the consoles and answering that question in a very long and roundabout way, I suppose I could say. And we talked an entire Minecraft day about that. It was crazy. Talking your ears off about the consoles and the video games. Let's see here. Don't get me started on the lack of backwards compatibility. That's probably one of my hugest gripes about console games these days. I stopped buying consoles at PlayStation 2, the last one that was backwards compatible with the previous generation, simply because I saw that with the next gen, the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360. I'm like, why? I'm not going to get into that right now. It's a discussion for another day. I will save for another episode. Careful, cow. I was about to say careful, Wolfie, but that is not Wolfie. That's a cow. Let's go to sleep. And clumsy cowness. Yeah, how did that cow hurt himself? Oh, I guess he fell on that block. You so silly, cow. You so silly. Woof. Continuing on, let's make some... I just noticed my torches are below half full there, so let's make a few more. Oh, that's not proper. There we go. And let's answer another good question here from Ken at Patreon. Is it difficult mentally? Everything is difficult for me mentally. Is it difficult mentally switching back and forth between the different versions of Minecraft that you regularly play? A little bit. Mostly because I don't play the current versions of Minecraft enough to know everything. All the changes, all the new crafting recipes. That's specifically apparent when I play Minecraft Bingo. I need a fermented spider eye. How the heck do I even make that? I thought this was a book, but it's actually a book and quill, and I need this, that, and the, those sort of crafting recipes, knowing how the rules have changed, what you get from certain items, or where they can be found, or animals and stuff like that. I say the biggest. I say. What am I, Foghorn Leghorn? Or is that Foghorn, or is that? Yeah, that is Fog. Yeah. I say. The biggest thing is very little in that when I'm playing on the Minecraft server, I never sprint. Even in, oftentimes playing either UHC or even, I suppose it would be apparent in a bingo game. I just simply don't know it exists. All I know is to press W, and that is what propels me forward at a constant rate. So you'll notice in when I play, I suppose I could call it modern day Minecraft, I don't sprint as much as I should, or I'll simply play for a long time and realize, oh yeah, I could be sprinting around. What am I doing? So that's probably the biggest thing. But otherwise, they just feel like different versions of the game. I'm pretty much used to it. Since I don't do a lot of the crafting, building, exploration in Far Lands or Bust here, there isn't that much of a gap. There isn't that much of a kind of a mental gap to bridge between those two things. So, yeah, it's not like crafting recipes haven't significantly changed, and I'm not using any of them here in this world to really notice the difference, but yeah, that was a good question. I'm generally not doing it also immediately. When I record a Far Lands or Bust, I immediately edit and render it and upload it, so the earliest I could play a game of the current Minecraft would be 3 or 4 hours later on the same day, because I have to let this record, render, and upload. So there's really not much of a, okay, I've got to instantly switch to the new version or a different version of Minecraft like that. Oink, oink, I do declare, I do say, I say. Let's see here. Whoops. Josh from Scotland, with his donation to Child's Play charity, asks, do you like comic strips like Calvin and Hobbes or the Peanut series? I was a huge fan of Calvin and Hobbes. I have, growing up, and I still have, all of those big book anthologies, the Ultimate Calvin and Hobbes, the Complete Calvin and Hobbes, there's all these different versions of collections that I have that I really enjoyed, and that's gotta be a spawner. Whoa, careful. I don't know. Can't see it. Since I can't see it, it doesn't exist. Bridge the gap. So yeah, I really like Calvin and Hobbes. I did, that was one of my, we used to get the paper when I lived at home. The newspaper, the little thing that's printed out in ink and on dead trees. All of you young whippersnappers, we got the newspaper, and the only section I would read every morning with my cereals, it would be the comic section, and certainly the Sunday comic section. So I like Calvin and Hobbes. I liked, God, I'm trying to think of all the different comics that were out there. Woof. What's the one? Foxtrot. High and Lois? High and Lois was always pretty funny. It was always kind of a lot of the sarcastic one-liner type of humor. The Peanuts, I could leave or take. Obviously, it's important as a comic. It's the kind of top comic. It's kind of, the Mickey Mouse of comics. Which is kind of an odd analogy to make, because Mickey Mouse is also technically a cartoon comic. But, not so much on the Peanuts, the Family Circle, or anything like that. I'm trying to think of other ones. There were some more obscure ones just before I kind of stopped reading comics that were coming out that were a little bit more, I don't want to say adult-oriented, but they're not really like happy, funny cartoons. They were a little bit more, they would have political jokes or stuff like that. But I can't think of them off the top of my head now. Wow, it's been a long time since I've A, picked up a newspaper, and B, read the comics. So yeah, definitely, those were definitely a part of my childhood, and I can, associate just the same as things like The Simpsons and other cartoons influenced my type of entertainment preferences, my type of also brand of humor, I suppose, maybe a little bit. Also, definitely the comics, your Calvin and Hobbes, your things like that. Definitely shaped me as a human being, as a growing as a sponge. I was a sponge, and I was absorbing all of these crazy things. So yeah, that was a good question. Whoop, careful, Wolfie. Okay, what are you, a cat? Get off. What else can we answer here? Ooh. Come back. From Kirk, not to be confused with Kurt. What exosolar object do you view the most through a telescope? It's been a long time since I've been out with a telescope, but view the most? I suppose it depends, either most or most frequently. Let's see here. It tends to be, that's a tough one. I've always found, a lot of people will, Surfing USA, will, observe an object for a long time. I'm kind of more about the hunt and the find. So oftentimes, unless it's a planetary object, planetary objects, your Jupiter, your Saturns, that you can actually observe from time to time and see how the moons move around it, and maybe see a shadow, an eclipse, or a transit, an occultation, I suppose might be the word for it, between one of the moons and another moon, or the surface of the planet. So those would be objects that I would observe for a long period of time out of the night. I am the knight, Batman. But as far as exosolar, as in things outside of the solar system, I would tend to just hunt them down, find them, and then be like, okay, I see it. That looks cool. Let's move on to the next object. So I really wouldn't sit there and study things so much. But you know, definitely the easier to find things, such as your the Ring Nebula M52, I think M27 is the Dumbbell Nebula. See, I'm already forgetting all the Messier numbers. That's another one. That one's a little bit tougher to find than the Ring Nebula, but that one I would frequently... Obviously, Andromeda. The Andromeda Galaxy. In light pollution, quite difficult to find, because it is a very large galaxy, very faint, fuzzy. But in a dark sight, you can see that naked eye. That is look up to saying, oh, there's a smudge. There's a smudge in the sky. That is another galaxy. And so yeah, it really isn't about what do you look at most. It's kind of, I guess, what's easiest to find. So yeah, okay, while I'm out, I might as well see what this looks like right now, just to compare. If the skies are a little bit different, the seeing is a little bit better, there's a little bit less wind or atmosphere in the way. That's kind of a reason. But, you know, it's always, you try to push a little bit further to see a different thing that might be a little bit further away or difficult to see or a little bit too close to the horizon. Certainly the very interesting nebulas are within our own galaxy, but the ones near the center, the center of the Milky Way, the rich nougat center of the Milky Way, like the Eagle Nebula, things like that, from my latitude, are a little bit more difficult to see and find. So those are always an interesting thing to hunt for. And even just, you know, panning your telescope around the center of the Milky Way is just an interesting way to just happen, oh, I see this thing, and then actually go back and actually, oh, this is what the thing I'm seeing. So there are many different preferences and methods of observing astronomical objects as an amateur astronomer, and I'm kind of more of I hop around, hop up, and I get down. But yeah, that is going to wrap up. Ooh, oh, this is like a pre-built little hidey hole entrance. Wolfie? Did you just... What happened to Wolfie there? Oh, are you gonna guard the entrance? No, get back! You noodle? Okay, you're kind of far away there, so I'll give you a torch. But we're gonna go kind of in a weird place. This is going to be a hidden hidey hole. It is not going to be visible from the overviewer map, which I'm very happy to say I've made progress, and hopefully, if everything works out, we will we'll have a place to host the new overviewer map at farlandsorbust.com. The current one is it's years out of date. It's back to the 699492 monument, and I've got to update it to the 1479940 monument. So that'll be happening soon, hopefully. We're looking forward to that. So I'll have announcements about that when that happens. But let's make some beds, let's make some boats, and I think I'm going to be a little bit surprised when I start the next episode. I'm probably going to forget that I'm holed up in this trench down here. So look forward to that reaction in the next episode of Far Lands of Bust, and keep donating to Child's Play charity at farlandsorbust.com. Ask your questions there. I do appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody who asked a question today, and stay tuned for more in a couple days on Friday. This has been Far Lands of Bust, episode 409. My name is Kurt. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time. I say,